Hello everybody and thank you for joining me. This is Ciara from Ciara T Designs and today I have this art journal spread to share with you, so let's jump right in. So I'm going to be working in my Stamperia A5 journal. This came out in the Vicky Papineau line, I believe 2 years ago, I want to say. And a bunch of these products are actually pretty old, so whatever I can link to, I will link and list down in the description as always, but don't be surprised if some of these products aren't there because this is an older collection. So I'm going to be working with the Stamperia Dewdrops collection. This is a piece of rice paper I had left from a different project I had made quite a while ago. And you guys know, if you've been with me for any length of time, I am a big believer of using what you have and kind of jumping in with old supplies and just kind of, using stuff because they're not inexpensive as a general rule. So I am kind of, a big believer of reusing stuff and getting a good amount of use out of your products. But that of course means that sometimes the things that I'm using are old and you may not be able to get them. However, this would really work with any collection you want to use. I'm going to use the Dewdrops rice paper, the adhesive paper cutouts and the paper cutouts. There are a couple of different die cut collections. I've had these in my collection for a long time. I love Vicky's stuff. You guys know, if you've been with me, like I said, any length of time, Vicky's a huge inspiration to me, which is probably why I'm getting really into mixed media art journaling. Now, this is going to be a trust the process situation. There was a few times while making this, I wasn't sure we were going to get somewhere pretty. And you guys, I like pretty things. I tend towards a more aesthetically pleasing palette, or visual, however you want to say it. So this was a little bit of a struggle, but I think we got there in the end. I say we, I mean me and the cats. I think I got there in the end. It did just kind of take a bit of trusting the process and just, stepping away when I was a little unsure. Because there is a few times in here that it was really, for lack of a better word, kind of ugly. I don't know. You're going to see as we go along, and you can tell me your thoughts, but this is kind of what we're going with. So I've brought in some Liquitex paint. This is Unbleached Titanium, which was the only cream color I had in my collection. So I kind of went through and I'm going to use it to cover all of the white background behind the rice paper, or around the rice paper. Really, I'm not going behind it, and you did see me use rice paper glue as well. I like the rice paper glue. You can use any strong adhesive would work. I just prefer it because I find that it's one of the only glues that I have no issue with. I find Collage Medium kind of bubbles up. So I have Collage Medium. I have used it on occasion. I find that this is the only adhesive that I've had no issues with the water content in. So I tend towards the rice paper glue, but there's no right or wrong here. Whatever you have on hand is great. And then I'm kind of going to go up and over where the rice paper stops. And like I said, I only had this little piece left from a different project. So I'm kind of working with what I have. And in between every step, things are drying. I only showed you the one time there where I dried the adhesive, but all of the paint here was dry before I came in with my vintage photo to go around the edge, right? So keep in mind, don't work wet on wet unless you're intentionally trying to blend things together. If you're trying to layer like I am, you really need things to dry in between. So just keep that in mind, especially if you're newer to art journaling. And one of the things, be patient with yourself. This is something I have to remind myself of too. Give yourself the grace you would give anybody else who's trying something new. Art journaling is not an area I have much experience in. I've made cards for quite a while, but layouts in an art journal is not something I have any experience with. So I have to be very mindful of, that this is really just me playing with products. I had no idea what I was creating. I grabbed out some items in my stash that was a collection that I really liked, and then I kind of just went from there, and I had no idea. Generally, when I make cards, I can see what I'm trying to make in my head. I had zero plans here. I just kept pulling random things out of my stash and working with them to see, where I could go. So I brought in 2 sprays here. I'm using picked raspberry oxide spray and then winterberry mica spray. And now you could spray it on, but I really wanted this kind of drippy effect. And thankfully, because I used the rice paper glue on both sides of my rice paper, I've sealed the rice paper. So I'm not worried about it, damaging it or making it peel up or do anything weird, because I've sealed it with the adhesive. And then the acrylic paint won't move. Once it's dry, it doesn't go anywhere. You can't reactivate it with water, which is why I chose to use paint instead of an oxide or an ink. You absolutely could, but I didn't want to fight with the background and the kind of beige color I was going for. Now my oxide will move, the vintage photo, but that's okay because brown and pink actually look really, really pretty together, which always surprises me a little bit because I'm not a big fan of brown as a general rule. So it's always a little surprising to me that I like brown and pink together, but they go beautifully. And anytime I'm trying to get it to get more drips or get more anything, I do bring in my mister. You see me kind of mist the background. Oh, and for the paste, I brought in the Tim Holtz Sparkle Fade stencil, and then I went through it with Snowfall grit paste. That's why you can't really see that paste until I start adding the pink on top. It has glitter in it, so it shimmers a bit, but you couldn't really see it. It blends in to the background, so that I'm now going to make many, many steps in layering to make sure you can actually see it. So I went over it first with that pink, and then now I'm bringing in some Distress Picket Fence paint, which is just a white acrylic paint. It is from the Distress line though, and I'm just using that to push everything back a little bit. These aren't the focals, these are just layers, and like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. I just busted out some products and had a play, and there were stages in this where I'm like, I don't know if I like this, but you just keep going. And honestly, if I had made something that turned out to be, not aesthetically pleasing or that I wasn't really happy with, I would have still learned things. And so it's one of those things where you gotta try, right? You gotta give it a go. You gotta put ink to paper and just see what happens, because you don't know until you actually do it. And of course, as always, practice makes progress. And if I'm not gonna, try to do art journaling, I'm not going to do art journaling. So it's one of those things where, you just gotta give it a go, give it a try, see what happens, bust out some things you like to play with, and just see what you can make. So now I'm in my Versafine Onyx black ink, and I have the Tim Holtz Field Note stamps. This is one of my favorite stamps for just random stamps in the background. I like it because it has circles, it has rectangles, it has numbers, it has squares, it has a little bit of everything, some text. And I just think that's really fun. So it's kind of my go-to stamp set when I'm adding just texture in the background, which is kind of what we're doing. And I'm kind of just clustering them together. Again, you guys, honestly, I have no idea what I'm doing. I do try really hard to always work in uneven numbers. So right now you see 4 clusters of stamps. So I'm going to add one more just to kind of add something extra. And then I'm going to grab the circle one again and just use whatever ink is left on it and go back over that number. And again, we're going to hide some of this. So we're just creating interesting layers. So at this point, I have pulled out all of my different bits and bobs that I'm going to create my collage with. And I've kind of laid it out. And honestly, I didn't leave this footage in because you literally would have seen me just shuffling through bits and bobs and trying them out. I was worried that would be incredibly boring. If you think that that's something that would be of value, let me know. But honestly, it's just trial and error. I pick out something, I decide if I like it. And a lot of it is a feeling. And I can't explain that. Like either the setup feels balanced or it doesn't, and then I pull different things out or whatever. So it's really one of those things. Miss decided she had to sit on top of the desk right here, so I pushed her out of the way of the ink and the glue, and then she sat in front of my glass mat and helped me build this. You can see her tail pop in and out every once in a while. So for the film strips, those are actually from 49th and Market. I have had them in my stash a very long time. Again, like I said, if the stuff is available, I always link and list down below. If it's not there, you can always, of course, leave me a comment and I will, go and see if I just missed something. Or if it's not there, likely it's because it doesn't exist for purchase anymore. But I always try to, find some alternative if I can't find you the exact item I have used. Now, the leaves from this are actually stickers, but I only wanted them glued on the very bottom of the flower, like underneath the flower, because I like to curl things up. In the journal, that doesn't work as well, just because, of course, when you close the page, it gets smushed down again, so it's not really propped up. But I tend to only adhere things in the center. Like the flowers are the same. You can see I'm only adhering it at the base of the flower that's going behind the other flower. That's just because if I want to, I will pop things up. Like I do the same thing with butterflies. I don't adhere the wings so that I can, pop them up if I want to. It's just one of those things. You do what works for you. If that's not your style, perfectly okay. Don't do that. You know what I mean? Like do whatever makes you happy in your creating, because especially in art journal, it's really meant to be for you. I'm kind of focusing on collections that have been in my stash a long time that I haven't really used enough, in my opinion, because I like to use my stuff. And I will be adding quotes that are very specific to whatever is going on for me. So for this setup, I picked out some of my stickers. If you guys don't know, I have an Etsy shop and an actual shop now. You can go to my website and check it out. But I picked out my large black alphabet stickers. I have 3 sizes of alphabet. This is the large. You'll see the small here in a second. And I just wrote out my sentiment. Now you could use, alphabet dies if that's what you have. I have my alphabet stickers and I love them. I put a lot of work into these sticker sheets to get them, to be something I was proud of. So I'm going to use them. But my sentiments, or my saying, I guess this would be, is believe you can. And I think that's one of those things where there's a lot of the world that's going to happily not support you or not, I don't know how to word this in a way that's not like people suck. There's a lot of the world out there who's not gonna cheer you on. And I think at the end of the day, it has to start with you, because when you're starting something new, you're not going to be very good at it. And that's okay. That's totally understandable. It's totally realistic, right? But it's difficult as an adult to start something new and not feel like you're failing before you've even really started, which makes 0 sense. So hopefully this makes sense what I'm saying, but I just felt like it needs to come from within before it can really come from anywhere else. So this one, Believe You Can, was just really me telling myself that, hey, like you can do these things. You can open a stationery shop that will be successful. You can, do this scary market that has 20,000 people coming through. You guys are actually seeing this the day that I'm setting up the market. The market runs the Friday, Saturday, Sunday after this video. So, it's just, I just want to cheer myself on and remind you guys to cheer yourselves on, because, not everybody else is going to, and that's okay, because they don't have any say in what you get to accomplish in life. So keep that in mind. Believe that you can do whatever it is you want to do, because I think you can. And yes, that was kind of my thought with that. And then I brought in just a Copic multi-liner, a fine liner, I think it is actually. And I just went through and scribbled a little border along it, and then put like stitchy details with my pen, just because I can. Like, why not, right? Again, like I said, this is really just me playing with stuff and trying to create something that I think is pretty and cohesive at the end, that still, is supportive in some way. So that's always kind of my aim and my goal when I create, is to make something that makes me smile or warms my heart, or, that I'm going to send to somebody else to make them smile, that kind of thing. So this is what I came up with. I would love your thoughts. Like I said, art journaling is very new to me. So if you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them. Let me know what you would have maybe done differently, or what you learned from this, or anything like that. Leave me all that information, because I want to know. So you can leave me a like, leave me a comment, or consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday. And of course, like I said, we are in the 12 weeks of Christmas series. So if you, want to check that out, please do, because every Monday for the next, we just finished week 4. So the next 8 weeks, I am doing Christmas videos on the Monday. So make sure you check that out. Thank you so much. And I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.